Hello, welcome back to another episode from Kaya Plus. I think today is quite unique. We wanted to discuss quite a hot topics. Juban, do you know what is the very important thing that's going to happen tomorrow, which is 10th of June?
In fact, 12 a.m. tonight, to be honest, as
Yeah,
of time of recording. Yeah. Yeah, I
yeah.
think I
So
saw on the news. Yeah, diesel prices will go up, or to put in exact words, will be floated, right? So something I would say interesting to cover, even though it's not directly related to what we usually cover, which is investing analysis. But I think from this approach or this direction that the government is taking, there are some things to ponder, and I think there's also some angles to it. But we'll go through it one by one. It's something that I think quite similar to what we used to encounter back then, where petrol prices go up, and then we queue up and we try to take advantage of the low petrol prices before 12 a.m. Right? But this time it's diesel. So yeah, so what's the gist and what's the general outcome from the headlines today for this big news?
yeah, I think to be fair, it's not really relevant to me myself because I don't have a private vehicle that's using diesel.
Mm.
But I think it's a good practice because whatever impact that will happen this round potentially will happen when eventually the petrol subsidies got basically optimized or remove it in the near futures. So some key fact for you to actually understand if you're not basically monitoring the diesel related stuff. So originally, as of now, which is before 12 a.m., it's actually 2.15 ringgit per liters. And then starting tomorrow will be 3.35 ringgit per liter, and it will be floating to be updated on a weekly basis, right? So this is some of the information. And then if we take a step back, we'll always feel bad about this because everything that is about an increase of price, if you have a lot of cascading effect. But again, I wanted to share something on the rationale behind why the government do this. Based on some of the information shared in the news, especially by the second finance minister, I think it's quite interesting. He shared these two key aspects. And then the figure is basically from 2019 to 2023. He's saying basically back then in 2019, we basically used 6.1 billion liters diesel per year. And then across 4 years, it basically increased to 10.8 billion liters. While the amount of diesel related vehicle didn't increase significantly. So this is a claim that basically made by the government saying all the increase, if let's say the increase is 10%, supposed to go from 6.1 billion liter consumption go to 6.6, for example, 10% increase. But it's basically increased quite a bit from 6.1 to 10.8. The whole thing is basically relate back to one keyword, which is leakages. So they're saying a lot of smuggling activity. Basically, people take this subsidized diesel and sell it elsewhere, Indonesia, Thailand, and so on. So this was a claim about the leakages. And then he's also saying the subsidized amount that's given for diesel go from 1.4 billion ringgit per year go to 14.3 billions per year. It's about tenfold. So it's quite a shocking numbers from this perspective. So if I want to take this into perspective, you will actually know whether this rationalization of subsidy is basically tackling this leakages issue. If this is indeed a fact, in my opinion, technically you have some negative impact on a very short term basis because people will suffer, especially people that's actually driving the diesel cars, will need to pay more. Some of the SME owner maybe they're using diesel car for them to do transportation or whatnot. It may lead to some increase of business costs. But if the big chunk of it is used for smuggling activity, by right it shouldn't have a very significant negative impact to the entire nation. And if we take another angle, the whole money being saved from this activity will be channel out for something better. Let's say go to some development of some infrastructure and so on. So this was the claim, and then we shall see whether it actually makes sense or not. And then of course, before I leave it back for Japan to share his view, some of the fact that you should also know that uh, people that actually impacted, they can actually apply for some cash subsidies. So they'll get about 200 ringgit per month if they're eligible. For those that's owning some of the diesel related vehicles and it's more than 10 years and so on. So the details you can find out online. And even with this increase to basically make the price floating, Malaysia is still one of the lowest diesel costs in the region. So to put this into some context, comparing against the different ASEAN countries by using ringgit as the unit for us to measure. So for example, Singapore is about 8.79 ringgits per liter. So just to put everything into perspective, it's more expensive, but if we put into context across the region, it's still reasonable. Yeah, what do you think, Japan, of this activity?
I think I do agree with the larger picture, which is looking at the increase in terms of diesel being used and also the amount of subsidies coming from the government's perspective. Yes, there is a need because if nothing is done, definitely the numbers will continue to go up at a very significant rate, right? And I think it's also coming from the perspective that yes, even though we are, past COVID, but I think back then countries and governments around the world have been, using up a lot of their coffers in terms of financial aid, and now is the time to build back. And of course, on top of that, is to ensure that there is lesser leakages. And as an oil-producing country, you can see that the diesel price or even RON 95, RON 97 prices in Malaysia is definitely much cheaper. And I do think that if diesel can be smarter, I think the same could be also done for the RON 95 and RON 97 as well. So from that angle, I do kind of agree and echo with what the government is doing, because at the end of the day, subsidies is something in short term, and I think being a nation where we produce so many petrol and energy related resources, we have been relying on subsidies for far too long, and it's hurting the country's coffers from my point of view. Yeah.
Yeah, I think just to put in some additional pointer from my end, but if you want to talk about the immediate impact to some of the impacted industry or whatnot, potentially you can think maybe people will think some of the vehicle sales will drop, especially
Yeah.
the diesel vehicles in
Yeah.
Malaysia. And if you talk about from this very short-term speculation, for example, probably has an impact to all the vehicle related stocks. For example, but it's pure speculation, right? And of course, people because of this they may go for EV sales. And of course, recently there's some changes to the road tax to make it to make it friendlier to the EV vehicles owner. So a lot of things can have some short term impact logistics wise. But I guess the actual impact won't really come until the rationalization of RON 95 and 97 happen. But this is a very good preview on what is the potential thing that will happen when it actually go in a slightly larger scale. And beside all of this, ultimately it depends on all this activity done by the government, whether it's a good move. I think it takes time for us to actually examine it. Essentially, whatever money saved from all these activities is supposed to be used into something better. But the fact is, with all these things that's actually happened, a lot of subsidy give to the so-called the B40 or below. A lot of people working in Klang Valley, probably that basically still classified M40. even though with the new Padu database, they're supposed to be more accurate, but for people that's earning so-called by M40 definition previously, can be still suffering, and then there isn't a lot of aids or a lot of program design just for the people that's actually in M40 or even the T20 that's having a lot of commitment. What
Yeah.
do you think, Chupan?
I think it's also taking a look at other problems that could be leading to this um, topic right now. Yes, it is true that life is tough being M40 in Malaysia, right? Particularly in Klang Valley, where living expenses and standards are relatively higher compared to other states. And when you think about it, this does not, I mean, it shouldn't be a problem if you look at other places around the world. But the fact that for Malaysia, that this issue kind of crops up, and it's a bit worrying because it will eventually link back to a lot of other problems that I think we have talked about. Being I think one of it is being the EPF, where people don't even save enough, and people are so eager to withdraw their account tree or account flexible amount. So I think all of it has to be put into consideration and look at it from a bigger perspective. Why all of this happening, and when energy subsidies, fuel subsidies are being taken away, people don't see the good side of it, or people are still too reliant on it until it becomes a big topic and a big challenge, and it affects people's daily lives in a bad way. So I think it's definitely a good topic for a separate video, but on the back of it, I think definitely people would be worrying that lorries, a lot of logistic companies, they will use diesel as their main fuel for their transporting of goods, foods around. And definitely people are worried that with the diesel prices now floated, they might be seeing an increase in prices when they go to dine at mama places or even when they do groceries. But what do you think about that? Is it going to be a significant chance for inflation to come back and make Malaysians' life much more miserable?
I don't think so. To be honest, for just for diesel, there will be some impact, some increase minor here and there. That's why I'm saying it really need some time to basically eliminate the argument or the
Mm-hmm.
theory
Yeah,
basically posted by the government saying majority of the subsidized diesel basically go for smuggling activities. Is a leakages. If let's say this is a fact, all these things are short term, maybe some increase because regardless, we won't really feel the until
yeah,
around 95, 97 being rationalized. So I think it's a good preview, but I don't think that there'll be any significant thing that happen. But again, on this topic alone is quite straightforward, but on a higher level, we still advocate for everyone, regardless, need to build up the investing behavior, the saving behavior for retirement sake or whatnot. It's always good
yeah,
to do this as early as possible. It can be a
yeah,
very small step, very small amount, but you need to start somewhere. Otherwise, we may not know all these things, what it will lead to. While we should let the money work for us as many or as much as possible. I think this is some last thing I wanted to share before I end the videos. What about you,
yeah, yeah,
Tupan?
yeah. I think it is also a good reminder that subsidies don't last forever. Now that we have seen diesel prices being rationalized, we could see RON 95 prices also in the pipeline. I think it's also one of the few subsidies rationalization program, and just that diesel has started first. And we could see the RON 95 rationalizing plan come into play as well. And you can't stop that. And you can't just tell your boss that I need to work 100% from home. I won't be able to afford fuel going to the office. This is something out of the question. So there must be another way to counter inflation or rising prices. And I think the easiest way, as you mentioned, is just to advocate and practice good investing behavior, start small, and eventually it will help you counter all these unwanted and bad or unwanted rise in terms of your expenses, even if you want it or don't want it at all. So I think that's about it. If you like the video, do give us a thumbs up, do share it across to your friends and family, and of course, most importantly, subscribe to the notification so that when there's a new video, you'll definitely be notified. And let us know in the comment section what kind of other topics that you want us to talk about. It could be, diesel prices, it could be investing related companies, but let us know. Right, we'll be more than happy to cover and for you to get a see and a look from our perspective of things. Yeah, that's all. See you in the next
Definitely.
video. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye bye.